funny thing to say about you, so go ahead and welcome it up, and then I'm going to take it from there.
Oh, boy. Okay. That's great. And then I'm going to do the list of Welcome, everyone, to Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino as part of the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame banquet. We would like to welcome you to tonight's festivities and, of course, welcome you to Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. I'm Emily Gaskin on behalf of Harrah's Hoosier Park. Happy to be joined alongside my cohort down at University Horseshoe, Indianapolis.
It's been a long day for you, Em. It's been a long day.
It has.
I am so excited that Emily has finally joined me. There's been a couple of years where I have my back hurts.
Yeah, she's been carrying the team, folks.
She's been carrying the team. And then her father was inducted last year, and she left the tear crying on the mic to me. But luckily, right. I love her, and I love Hoosier Park, and I'm really glad to be back. I'm the, if you don't know, the TV commentator, pretty much the Emily of Horseshoe, Indianapolis, University of Horseshoe, Indianapolis.
Yeah, sorry about that. Again, we want to welcome you to Harrah's Hoosier Park and, of course, the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame induction. We are so glad to have you here tonight and, of course, kick off our 2023 Breeders' Crown festivities here at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. And tonight, we are so glad to have you joining us, and we've got some wonderful inductees into the Hall of Fame event.
Yeah, very, very wonderful man, and posthumously, Paul Martin will start with. Wonderful man, and we're so happy to have his family here. And he is obviously from our quarter horse family. And then we do have Joe Putnam, who is also a wonderful man that I love very much, who is from our harness family. And then another wonderful harness named Jay Cross also will be part of our program, so very excited for all of our inductees this evening.
We do have a few folks that we'd like to welcome and recognize in our attendance tonight. So when we say your name, if you could stand or give us a little wave, and we'll recognize everyone at the end. So we'd like to welcome Phil Borse, the chairman of the Indiana Horse Racing Commission. Dina Pittman, executive director of the Indiana Horse Racing Commission. Tom Linkmeyer, Deputy Director of the Indiana Horse Racing Commission. Jessica Barnes, Director of Breed Development for the Indiana Horse Racing Commission. And we have quite a few other members from the Indiana Horse Racing Commission as well. We want to thank you for joining us. On behalf of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino, we have Colin Skidmore, our Senior Vice President and General Manager. I forgot the senior part last time. And at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, we have our Senior Vice President and General Manager who recently left us. We won't hold that against you, Mr. Trent McIntosh.
I have some notes here that Trent took my script and added, most wonderful boss ever of both properties.
Okay. Love it. Love it. We also have Eric Hallstrom, who I'm sure you have some comments about as well, Vice President and General Manager of Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Eric, welcome.
He's all right.
Rick Moore, Vice President and General Manager of Racing at Harrah's Hoosier Park. We'll be hearing from Rick in just a little bit. John DeLong, President of our Indiana Standardbred Association. Thank you, John, for being with us. Tony Renz, our Executive Director of the Indiana Standardbred Association. Thank you, Tony. John Campbell, President of the Hambletonian Society. We have Chris Duke, Executive Director of the Quarter Horse Racing Association. And Mr. Brian Elmore, Executive Director of the HBPA. Mr. Elmore, there you are. And last but certainly not least, I want to acknowledge the Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino food and beverage team for the wonderful spread that they put on for us this evening. Thank you so much. And our catering teams and our audiovisual teams behind the staff. So thank you, behind the scenes. Thank you guys so much for all that you do to put this event on.
You guys do a great job. Thank you so much. See, now, okay, I feel a little bit better because you had to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I did all the heavy lifting. There, we're good. Okay, now you're up.
All right, so now I would like to welcome to the mic. We have our VP and GM of our Harris Hoosier Park property for first, he's going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Rachel. Would everyone rise and join me in the singing the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Ladies?
Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite Claudine Webb, from the chaplain from the Indiana Standard Association, up for an invocation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this night, that we can all gather together and honor these three recipients. Knowing them personally, they deserve this honor. And I thank you that they are receiving it. They're well respected among their race and peers. We just pray your blessing upon each one here. And as we leave, we just pray that you will give us traveling mercies and that you will be with each one of us. We'll give you all the thanks in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Claudine. And now I would like to welcome our Senior Vice President and General Manager, Colin Skidmore, for a few words. Colin? Yeah, no applause this time. No applause. They're out. They're out from the last time.
Thanks, Emily. Yes, it is an honor to be here to celebrate such notable folks in the racing industry. It's great. I know I've been told it's an emotional night, and deservedly so for the folks that are being honored, for sure. I do want to say we're excited to kick off the Breeders' Crown Week at Harris Hoosier Park. Yeah, there we go, CJ. Yeah. We're very happy to host it here this year, and we look forward to this great event, and I'm honored to be here and included. So thank you so much.
And now we have a short video to go along with our Breeders' Crown introduction.
And now we would like to welcome up Rick Moore, who is going to talk to us a little bit about the history of the Hall of Fame. How long? We've been doing this for about 8 years. You were late scratch a couple of years, but it's been a while. So
2014.
Oh,
That's
well,
more than
there you
me,
go.
right?
That was 9 years.
I've
Wow.
been counting them on fingers.
Yeah, and you're going to tell them all about it.
The Indiana Horse Racing Association Incorporated, an Indiana not-for-profit corporation, was founded in 2014 for the following purposes. One, establishing and maintaining the Indiana Horse Racing Hall of Fame to recognize leaders in the Indiana horse racing industry. Two, preserving the history, heritage, and traditions of the sport. And three, educating the public about the rich and colorful history of horse racing in Indiana and its many contributions to Indiana agriculture and Indiana's economy. Admission into the Indiana Horse Racing Hall of Fame is determined by a vote of the directors of IHRA. To be eligible for admission, a person must have made long-lasting and substantial contributions for the benefit and advancement of the sport of horse racing in Indiana. Portraits of tonight's inductees have been painted by Melinda Spear Huff of Sheridan, Indiana, and will be displayed in the mezzanine of Horseshoe Indianapolis in Shelbyville, Indiana. The directors of the IHRA are Joe Davis, Eric Hallstrom, Chris Duke, Trent McIntosh, Rick Moore, John DeLong, and Colin Skidmore. Welcome, everyone. And I want to recognize the past recipients of Hall of Fame recipients. The Honorable Lawrence M. Borst, Mr. Michael G. Schaefer, the Honorable Dick Thompson, Mr. Ralph Wilfong, Harold Barnes, Mary Holman George, Senator Robert Jackman, Don Mars, the Honorable Howard Luke A. Kenley, Lynn George Wilfong, Raymond J. Steve Pankey, Sarah McNaught, Howard Clark Pete Peterson, James R. Jim Elliott, Roderick J. Ratcliffe, Jonathan B. Schuster, Mike Smith, Ernest Gaskin, Dr. James Carmichael, Kim Hammond, and Don Eash. That is an illustrious group of folks in the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame.
And now to speak to us, we have a member of the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame, Mr. Ernie Gaskin.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Special night for special people. Welcome to an exclusive club. The Martin family, everything you've done for horse racing, Paul did. We thank you deeply. Joe, Jay, this club's getting cooler all the time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You dedicated your life to this industry, and your peers are here to say thank you. So for that, I say welcome and thank you.
We're going to start now with our induction ceremony for our 3 inductees. And first up, we'd like to start with Paul Martin. And I cried last year when Ernie got in there, and now they're getting me again with Joe and Paul, who are very, very close to me. So thanks a lot, guys, for getting me in the feels. We're going to start with Paul, who is an amazing guy, and we're going to invite Chris Duke up to start the induction ceremony for Paul Martin's proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Chris a round of applause.
Do you want to hold it, or would you like me to? It's fine.
It's an honor to be able to read the resolution for Paul Martin. Resolution of the Board of Directors of the Indiana Horse Racing Association Incorporated nominating Paul R. Martin posthumously for membership into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame. Whereas Paul, born in Muncie, Indiana, is a longtime owner, trainer, and breeder of quarter horses in the state of Indiana and has led a life devoted to unselfishly helping and mentoring others for the betterment of Indiana horse racing industry. Whereas Paul attended Ball State University and Gateway Bible College before focusing on a 28-year career as district manager of Sumitomo Corporation of America, where he received numerous awards and brought unique business experience into quarter horse racing, enhancing the sport and sharing a vision which is still evident today. Whereas Paul had a love of horses from an early age, eventually becoming linked to quarter horses, which brought him into the racing industry in year 2000. Whereas Paul won 79 races and more than 2.1 million in purses during his career, campaigning several of top quarter horses ever, including HH CJ Shake, WH Donny Boy Red, HH Kentucky Chrome, and his most noted star, Indiana Horse of the Year, WH Designed by Dash, who remains as one of the top 5 all-time leading quarter horses with more than $435,000 in earnings. Whereas Paul was instrumental in bringing the 2022 Bank of America Challenge Championships to Indiana, which displayed Indiana quarter horse racing on a national level and brought several of the sport's top sprinters to Indiana, including world champion Danger. Whereas Paul dedicated many volunteer hours to leading the quarter horse industry on the Board of Quarter Horse Racing Association of Indiana, serving as the organization's president for many years. Whereas Paul and his wife Julia have served their passion for quarter horse racing with their children Tyler and Shauna, who are both involved in the sport today. Whereas Paul was inducted into the QHRAI Hall of Fame and was joined by his prize WH Designed by Dash, who was inducted into this prestigious group in 2022. Whereas Paul continued to lead the QHRAI as president during his entire illness until his passing of May of 2023. Now, therefore, the Indiana Horse Racing Association Incorporated Board of Directors unanimously finds that Paul R. Martin has met the strict criteria for admission into the Hall of Fame in that he has made long-lasting and substantial contributions for the benefit and advancement of the sport of horse racing in Indiana. Nominates Paul R. Martin for admission into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame, directs a copy of this resolution to be sent to the family of Paul R. Martin, and further directs that a portrait bearing the likeness of Paul be hung in an appropriate location at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Thank you.
Tyler Martin's Paul's son is going to unveil this one right here. I know, left to right, right to left. Do you want to say a few words? I have to say before he says a few words, Julia and the entire family really has become friends of mine. And Julia, at these things, Julia and Paul were my dates, and they would always make sure to sneak me glasses of wine. So Paul would always make sure I was taken care of. He was a wonderful man, and so is his son Tyler. He's going to say a few words about Paul.
Paul Martin, my dad, one of the most prolific members of the Indiana quarter horse scene, loved 4 things in life more than anything else. He loved God, his family, fine clothes. Every article of clothing I have on came from his closet. And the reason we're all here this evening, the American quarter horse. Every member of the family would agree there were times we believed that Dad loved horses just a bit more than all of us. Paul and Julie stood side by side for well over 40 years and created a loving environment to raise my sister Shauna and I in that was centered on having a relationship with God and horses. From barrel racing to track racing, it's what we've known since the day we were born. Growing up in the quarter horse world has led all of us to have some type of involvement in the racing industry and here in Indiana. I'll never forget being an unpaid groom for the last 3 races on a Sunday night at Hoosier Park, getting home at 2 a.m., only to have to get up a few short hours later to go to high school. Later in life, during Dad's valiant battle with cancer, I believe he'd be hard-pressed to find a tighter bond between a father and daughter-in-law than he shared with my wife, Stacy. Dad had a deep love for his 3 grandkids, Nolan, Reese, and Marlo. Nothing made him more proud than the fact that Reese and Marlo were crazy horse girls. He focused on quality in all facets of life. He never had the most horses in the stable, nor did he want the most. He always focused on just having just a couple good ones with a shot. His words, not mine, but I heard them plenty throughout the years. While he typically only had a few horses in the trials or stakes races, there was almost always a Paul Martin trained horse that qualified for the finals. He was a true horseman and at his best could get every bit that a horse had to offer. I'm likely biased, but I do believe it's impressive that with a limited number of horses in his stable each year, he trained one of the all-time top 5 runners in Indiana history in WBH designed by Dash, owned by my mom, Julia, and another just outside the top 5 in HHCJ Shake, owned by Larry Carter. The man loved every facet of the horse racing industry, from the business side all the way to learning as much as he possibly could about each animal in his stable. About 3 weeks before he passed, I was able to take him to Los Al to watch his horse run a trial, which was a bucket list item for him. We had the opportunity to experience the morning training session, and Dad sat on the deck of the cook shack on the rail and just for hours watched the horses go by, commenting on each one. He watched the horses and I watched him. There's something about watching someone with limited time on this earth immerse themselves into something they love. He was in his element, his passion, the racing American quarter horse. Thank you.
And now we'd like to welcome the family of Paul Martin up to have a picture with his painting. And now we would like to welcome Steve Cross to the stage for the reading of the resolution for Jay Cross.
First, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to, okay, thank you, to share a few personal notes here. Today, the horse racing industry is recognizing a group of individuals who have earned the respect of their peers, and I would like to congratulate the 3 recipients. One, who I know quite well, is a kind-hearted old soul who earned the respect of his peers, no matter the location, be it Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, or here in Indiana. While many may believe Jay to be old school and may not have known as well as some of us do, I hope there are those who may watch him from a distance and learn. He has much to offer to those who are willing to listen. In fact, there are some today over here who he has mentored into the business, myself included. I've seen instances just in the past few months in the paddock, at the yearling sale, and at the fairs where Jay has taken time to sit down and explain the business to new fans who are fascinated with harness racing and are full of questions. They've all told me since how much they appreciated the time he gave them to answer their questions and were amazed at his knowledge and compassion. That, folks, is how the industry grows, acquiring new participants. His passion and love for horse racing is contagious, and he is an ambassador for harness racing. His ability to think outside the box, his quiet leadership from behind the scenes cannot be mistaken. His ability to discern what's best for the entire industry and seeing the whole picture should be a model to us all. His humility, his quiet demeanor, patience, unselfishness, and his willing to sacrifice spirit is a tribute to Father Harry. Jay has allowed his Heavenly Father to shine through him, showing the value of a loving relationship and the importance of family and true friendship. People know him know that he has the Spirit of Jesus Christ in him. It is very evident. I'll always be proud to be known as Jay's little brother. And I can only hope and pray that someday I can be like my big brother, or Father would be proud. Resolution of the Board of Directors of the Indiana Horse Racing Association Incorporated, nominating J. D. Cross for membership into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame. Whereas Jay, born in Goshen, Indiana, and raised in Middlebury, Indiana, is a longtime owner, trainer, driver, and breeder in the Indiana standardbred industry, and has led a life devoted to unselfishly helping and mentoring others for the betterment of the Indiana horse racing industry. Whereas Jay transitioned from family ties with trotting bred racing, a sport his family excelled at the top with stallion like Shamrock Spencer and longtime world champion Shamrock Shady, who was bred and raised by Jay before developing a career in the standardbred industry. Whereas Jay is among the all-time leading drivers in Indiana and has competed in all 30 seasons of racing here at Harrah's Hoosier Park and all 11 seasons of racing at Indiana Downs, with numerous top 10 finishes in the driver standings, setting several track records and recording more than 3,200 career victories as a driver. Whereas Jay has campaigned multiple year award winners in Indiana as a trainer and driver in both Pro-Mutual and Indiana Side First Circuit, including 4 Indiana Sire Stakes finalists in 2003. Whereas Jay established himself as a top catch driver in the Midwest, competing in Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, and prior to the arrival of Pro-Mutual racing here in Indiana, and his green and gold and white colors have guided some of the Midwest's top trotters and pacers, including Ohio's world champion, Just a Bit of Magic, for trainer Don Boroff, McJate for Indiana trainer Dave White, and a trio of top horses for fellow Indiana trainer Bill Smith with LaShore, Skeet's Dream, and Dark Victory. Whereas Jay has dedicated his life to standardbred racing and trained in a small but credible stable, producing standouts such as the filly Raging Rachel, Valley Electric, Woody's Lad, Little TH, Maid's Last Work, EC Melody, and more recently, Big Gulp, and the fantastic filly Sure Do. Whereas Jay and his wife Pam, who is a current member of the Indiana Standardbred Breed Advisory Board, has served in various volunteer positions with racing, including more than 2 decades as a U.S. Trotting Association Director representing Indiana, and also served 2 terms as a Director of the Indiana Standardbred Association. Now, therefore, the Indiana Horse Racing Association Incorporated Board of Directors unanimously finds that Jay Cross has met the strict criteria for admission into the Hall of Fame, in that he has made long-lasting and substantial contributions for the benefit and advancement of the sport of horse racing in Indiana. The Board of Directors unanimously nominates J. D. Cross for admission into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame. They directs a copy of this resolution to be sent to J. D. Cross, and further directs that a portrait bearing the likeness of J. D. Cross be hung in an appropriate location at Horseshoe in Annapolis. Thank you.
And now we'd like to invite Jay and his family to the podium to say a few words. Do you want to hold it, or do you want me to put it up here?
I really don't want it. And thank you. It is indeed an honor and very humbling to be here tonight. I thank each one of you that are in attendance. And when John came to us this summer in the paddock and told Pam and I that this was going to be happening, I was rather dumbfounded and couldn't really figure out why. So, you know, I had to decipher a little bit. The first thing I came up with is I must be getting old. But when I got a little bit deeper into it, I figured out there was probably 4 things that helped me get here. One was faith, one was family, one was friends, and one will change this a little bit probably, but fast horses. First of all, I thank God for being with me in this journey. He carried me quite a few times when things got a little bit rough. Kept me safe on the racetrack. Steve and I drove 2 hours and 15 minutes every night one way for a lot of years to get here and go back home. Kept us safe on the road. One thing I've always tried to do, I've missed a few, but I always, sometime in a parade or scoring the horse down before we go to the gate, I ask God to help me drive safely first, be competitively second, and to be a good sport. And Lord, just help me to control my tongue and my temper. We all make mistakes on the racetrack, and sometimes it's me. Paybacks are heck sometimes. Family. Anybody that knows me knows my wife, Pam, and knows that she has much to do with this as I do. She's a licensed trainer. There's been times when I raced in Indiana, when she went to Ohio. She's helped break babies. She's done training. She helps when we race. She warms up. She paddocks. She can do it all. I couldn't begin to do it without her. Her son, Jeremy, not really into horses, but he always was a supportive of that. And he's now brought a friend in that, although she's allergic to horses, she's willing to take medicine, and she comes to the barn to learn, and it's been fun to watch her soak it up. Brother Steve and his family have been amazing. Steve is my little brother, as he mentioned earlier. We're enough years apart that he's always been my little brother, but he's been one of my best friends. I don't think there's ever been a harsh word between us. Whatever I've done, he's supported, and I appreciate that. And along that note, I am a little bit jealous of him because I have won a few races in my day, not as many as a lot of people, but I have won a few. He's won maybe 5, and he was on the cover of the Horseman, and I never have been. My in-laws, Pam's parents, they're in-laws, they're not outlaws. They've been there for us just as well. Whenever we needed somebody to come babysit Jeremy while we went racing, or somebody to take care of the farm for a day or two and oversee things, they were there, and I really appreciate that. My parents, back in the day, our father is who I inherited the love of horse racing from. And I'm sure he's watching tonight. Friends, as most of you know, in this business, it's a competitive business, but in competition also comes friends, and friends are there whenever you need them. I've had 2 guys that have helped me a lot. One of them, Marlon. There when I needed them. We could leave once in a great while, take a 3-day vacation, and I would never call home because I knew they were in charge and that things were being taken care of. If I needed somebody to ship one way, I had to go another. They would always pitch in. I really appreciate that. I had another friend that I was with in Ohio for years, and we started in Indiana. We kind of went our separate ways, but he was a fellow that I could always call on. One time I called Sandy, and like, Sandy, I've got a bit of a problem, and I need to send some horses out. I've got one that I'd like to send your way because he needs a certain kind of trainer. He hemmed and hawed a little bit like we do when we have all the horses that we need. And he's like, "What's your problem?" And I said, "I have cancer." He said, "Bring him." That was it. Appreciate that. Dennis and Dave have driven horses for them. Dennis, before Hoosier Park was in existence in Ohio. Dave, soon after this opened, I started driving horses for him. I still drive horses for him today. Those are the kind of people that make what we do possible, and I appreciate that. The owners that we have, they're not just owners, they're friends, and it goes a long ways. Last of all, the fast horses. Most of us can drive a fast horse and look good at it, so it's not so much that maybe as just horses in general, and I think we learn more. I think Joe and Ernie and the other horsemen would attest to this, that we learn more from the bad horses than we do the fast horses. Because we have to shoe, we have to figure out how to gate them, we have to do all kinds of things, and we work and we lose sleep and we work, and sometimes we see the benefit of what we did, and that's when it really makes us grateful for what we do. So indeed, this is an honor, but as you can see, in my opinion, it's not just me. It's a bunch of these people sitting out here, and I thank you for that.
And we'll invite you guys to have a picture. Yep. Steve, if you guys could come.
Wow, Jay, you left your notes, man. Better keep these. No, put them in a box. We have to remember this day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have next inductee for the evening. Another guy I've known since I was an intern. Was that like 12 or 13 years ago, Joe? Big Joe? Don't. That's all right. Probably 4, maybe. I was an intern. We were interns like 4 years ago, right, Em? We're going to welcome up Rick Moore, who's going to do the proclamation for Joe Putnam, our last inductee. Give him a round of applause.
Before I start, I want to congratulate Paul's family on Paul's induction into the Hall of Fame, and to Jay and his family. Jay, congratulations to you and your family on your induction. A few remarks before I read Joe's resolution. It truly is my distinct privilege to present Joe Putnam for induction into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame. For those of you who don't know, this will not be Joe's first Hall of Fame induction. Joe is a member of the Michigan Standardbred Hall of Fame, class of 2020. You see, Joe made his mark in the Wolverine state before moving his operation to the state of Indiana. I have known Joe, his wife Lisa, and his son Joey for many years, and I'm proud to call each of them friends. But my friendship with Joe really blossomed and grew over the last decade of years, where I worked with Joe on almost a daily basis in his role of president of the Indiana Standardbred Association and my role as Harrah's Hoosier Park general manager. Joe always represented his organization and its constituents with the utmost of class, integrity, and professionalism. Together, we tried to make harness racing in Indiana the best it could be. And while we agreed on most issues, there were times when we disagreed, but we were never disagreeable. We would talk things out coolly, calmly, and eventually would find a middle ground that worked for most everyone. Although looking back, I think Joe usually got the best of me. And during the same time period, Joe and I served on the Indiana Standardbred Breed Development Committee. We continue to serve on breed development, where Joe's perspective from a horseman's point of view has been invaluable and enlightening to me. And we'll get suggestions on how to make the program better, and I'm always whispering to Joe, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? Because Joe is just so well-rounded that I really look, for his wisdom when it comes to how to make harness racing better here in Indiana. Besides all this, Joe has been able to operate a training operation of over 40 horses. And not only has he maintained this operation, but he has also seen it flourish with horses like Rockin' Nola and others who wear the Putnam blue proudly. So, Joe, it's now time for me to read your resolution, which will pave your way into the IHRA Hall of Fame. Resolution of the Board of Directors of the Indiana Horse Racing Association, Incorporated, nominating Joseph W. Joe Putnam for membership into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame. Whereas Joe is a longtime owner, trainer, driver, and breeder in the Indiana standardbred industry and has led a life devoted to unselfishly helping and mentoring others for the betterment of the Indiana horse racing industry. Whereas Joe relocated his entire operation to Indiana from Michigan in the mid-1990s and invested in a training center as well as bringing new owners into the state, boosting the racing program. Whereas Joe is among the all-time leading trainers in Indiana and has competed in all 30 seasons of pari-mutuel racing at Harrah's Hoosier Park and 11 seasons of racing at Indiana Downs, with numerous top 10 finishes in the driver standings, setting several track records, and recording more than 3,000 career victories as a driver and more than 1,500 career wins as a trainer. That's amazing. Whereas Joe has campaigned multiple year-end award winners in Indiana as a trainer and driver, including ABC Mercedes, ABC Baby, ABC Glory, Super K, and 4 straight Indiana Sire Stakes finals with the reigning older pacing mare, Rockin' Nola. 5. Whereas Joe brought his expertise in training and driving from his home state of Michigan and was recognized in 2021 as an inductee into the Michigan Hall of Fame, showing his established success prior to his move to Indiana. Whereas Joe was a sought-after catch driver in the first decade of pari-mutuel racing, guiding such standouts as Mark's Mindy, Vicky's Bunny, Belmont Tuxedo, Raise the Bar, and Painted Biscuit. Whereas Joe and his wife Lisa have passed their dedication and passion of standardbred racing onto their son Joey, who is achieving his own success as a top driver in the state of Indiana. Whereas Joe has served in various volunteer positions with racing, including multiple terms on the Indiana Standardbred Association Board, serving as president of the organization for many years. Now, therefore, the Indiana Horse Racing Association Incorporated Board of Directors unanimously finds that Joseph W. Joe Putnam has met the strict criteria for admission into the Hall of Fame in that he has made long-lasting and substantial contributions for the benefit and advancement of the sport of horse racing in Indiana, nominates Joseph Joe Putnam for admission into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame, directs a copy of this resolution be sent to Joseph Joe Putnam, and further directs that a portrait bearing the likeness of Joseph Joe Putnam be hung in an appropriate location at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Joe, it's now time for your induction into the Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame. Please join me as we unveil your portrait.
My notes. Well, as Jay said, standing before everybody in this room, it's a very humbling, and it's quite an honor, though. I think back about my career. Since I was a young man, all I cared about was racing and training horses, and I was very driven by that, and had a real good career in Michigan, and got to be my early 30s, and was looking for new opportunities, and I was received a phone call about this place in Indiana, Hoosier Park. They're going to open a new racetrack, and I thought, what, it's pretty close to home, but I wanted to, kind of branch out, try new things, and I said, I think I'll give that a try. But at the same time, I thought, man, I'll always be back to Michigan, where all my friends and family at that time were. So, as Rick just said, 30 years later, here we are in Indiana, and very thankful for it. The state's been really good to me. I've been blessed to have some, really good horses. I've just been blessed my whole life to have great owners, a great family. My wife, Lisa, she's the integral part of this operation. So, I think my friend Jim Johnson's here. His dad, he started with me 26, 27 years ago, and now his son Mike, he's one of my main partners. We're best of friends. It's just, I'm very, very honored and thankful for all this. And, I've always tried to, move the sport and the industry forward, like think outside the box and think more in the future than the present, because it's an ever-changing business, and it's a growing business. We're thriving here in Indiana, in the Midwest. So I feel like, my time on the ISA, we did a lot of good things. John DeLong's the president now, and, I left it in good hands. So I think, everything going forward is going to continue to thrive. And, I'm looking forward to the future. I hope we got some more winners and stuff in the barn, and we'll just keep carrying forward. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And my mom, she drove down from Michigan. She told me to keep this short because she wants to go play the slot machine. So I said I'll do my best. So anyway, it's an honor, and thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
And I would like to invite the family of Joe Putnam up for a picture with his portrait.
Oh yeah, Joey was supposed to be here, but guess what? Big Joe the boss sent him racing, so he told me to give him heck for not letting him come to the, the thing. One of the hardest working families, I'll tell you.
Again, we want to congratulate tonight's inductees and thank you all, of course, the families of Paul Martin, Jay Cross, and Joe Putnam for being here, and of course, all of you for joining us here tonight. This concludes tonight's Indiana Horse Racing Association Hall of Fame banquet, but we, of course, want you to enjoy yourselves this evening. Again, thank you for being here. Enjoy yourselves and enjoy the wonderful food and spread that's put on. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you all here for the Breeders' Crown this weekend. Thank you all.
Yes, please join us. We'll both be here.
That's right.
Teamed up
We'll be here.
again.
That's right.
Hall of Fame and for Breeders' Crown. Thanks everyone for being here. A round of applause for all three of our inductees, please.